Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are continuing our series on financial independence, specifically looking at the mechanics of moving from a salaried existence to genuine asset ownership.
Exactly. We are analyzing the Golden Path strategy. For anyone just joining us, this is the three-stage, 13-step system developed by Tamir Kaham.
Right.
He is the architect of this entire framework, the creator of the Golden Path of Financial Independence YouTube channel, and interestingly, the official Hebrew translator of The Richest Man in Babylon.
Which gives him a pretty unique vantage point, doesn't it?
It really does. It's this specific blend of modern systems engineering, which is his professional background, mixed with those, ancient stewardship principles from Babylon. That's the foundation that makes this approach so timeless. It's not just about hacks. It's all about the structure.
And that structure is designed for a very specific person, the salaried employee who wants to break out of that cycle of dependence.
Yeah.
Today, we are deep into the weeds of Stage 2, building financial resilience. We are tackling Step 8, managing debts. The theme for this deep dive is the invisible handcuffs.
And that title isn't just for dramatic flair. It really describes the mechanical reality of debt in a financial system.
Let's start right there, because I think for most of us, debt doesn't feel like handcuffs. It feels like a credit card tap.
It feels convenient.
It feels convenient. We've all felt that relief when payday hits. The notification pops up, the balance refills, and you feel, safe. But looking at Kaham's analysis, that feeling is actually a dangerous illusion.
It is an illusion, and it's because of flow. If you are carrying significant bad debt, that money landing in your account, it isn't really yours.
You're just a middleman.
You're a conduit. That's the perfect word. Think about your life's energy, the 40, 50, 60 hours you ground out that week. That value flows in from your employer and flows straight back out to the bank and your lenders.
That is a brutal way to visualize it. It forces a really uncomfortable question. Who are you actually working for?
Precisely. Are you going to work to build your own dreams? Or are you a very efficient, high-functioning servant for your creditors?
Wow.
If the first 30 hours of your work week are just paying for interest on things you bought 3 years ago, you aren't an asset owner. You are, in effect, an indentured servant to your past self.
The problem, though, is that we don't usually see it that way because everyone else is doing it. We see a car payment or a credit card balance as just the weather.
It's just normal.
It's just normal.
And that normalization is the trap. We've been conditioned to believe that being in debt is just the cost of existence. But while we are sleeping, accepting this is normal, the math is working against us. The famous Einstein principle about compound interest.
That's the eighth wonder of the world.
Right, but the full quote is, he who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it.
And most people are on the wrong side of that equation.
They're the ones paying it. They are fighting against a math that never sleeps. It's not a linear cost. It's an exponential drag on everything you're trying to build.
And it's not just about the money leaving the account, is it? The source material highlights something deeper, the opportunity cost.
It's about agility. Debt is the enemy of choice. Every single dollar you are committed to paying in interest is a choice you can no longer make.
That's a trip you don't take.
A trip you don't take. A career risk you can't afford. Maybe quitting a toxic job to start a business because you simply cannot afford a single month without that paycheck.
It creates fragility. You're completely stuck.
Massive fragility. You can't be agile when you are weighed down by the past. If you have high monthly payments, you are forced to be risk-averse. You have to play it safe.
You have to stay in line.
Exactly. That is why we call them invisible handcuffs. They restrict your movement in life just as much as physical handcuffs would.
Okay, so we've established that debt is a huge drag on the system. But here is where I want to push back a bit on the timeline of the Golden Path. We're in episode 7. This is step 8. If debt is such a heavy weight, why are we waiting until now to attack it? I mean, if I'm drowning in interest, shouldn't this be step 1?
That is the most common instinct. Get me out of this hole immediately. But from a systems engineering perspective, attacking debt too early is actually a design flaw.
A design flaw.
It usually leads to failure.
Why?
Because step 8 had to follow step 7, and step 7 was establishing the emergency fund.
The shield we built in the last deep dive.
Correct. Let's play out the scenario where you skip the shield, you decide to get aggressive, you throw every spare dollar at your credit card to lower the balance.
Okay.
You have zero cash in the bank, but hey, your debt is going down, you feel responsible. Then reality hits.
The car transmission blows up.
Or you have a medical deductible, something. You have no cash. What do?
You have to put it back on the card.
You are forced back into borrowing, usually at a moment of desperation. You cannot break the cycle without that buffer we established. You have to sever the dependence on credit for emergencies first.
I see. It connects back to that rocket launch analogy we've been using. The emergency fund is like the heat shield.
And step 8 is drag release. In the previous steps, conscious budgeting, stabilizing cash flow, the emergency fund, we were firing the engines. We built thrust.
Right.
But debt is the gravity. It's the dead weight holding the rocket back. Now that the engines are stable and we have our safety systems, we drop the clamps. We release the empty stages. This allows for the acceleration we need for the next stage.
So we are cutting the weight. But we need to make a distinction here because I think debt is a pretty broad term. I mean, not all debt is created equal, right? I hear real estate investors talk about leveraging debt all the time.
Of course.
Does the golden path make a distinction between good and bad debt?
It makes a critical distinction.
Yeah.
In this system, we categorize them very clearly based on their function, not just their interest rate. First, you have bad debt. This is consumption.
So clothes, gadgets, vacations, the car loan.
Anything that loses value or generates zero income. This debt is parasitic. It eats your future income to pay for past pleasure. This is the sand you cannot build on.
And good debt.
Good debt is strategic. It's growth debt. This is money borrowed to acquire income-producing assets, like a business loan for equipment that generates revenue, or a mortgage on a rental property, where the tenant pays the debt and puts money in your pocket.
So the rule isn't never borrow money?
No, not at all. The rule is be ruthless in eliminating bad debt. Be cautious and strategic with good debt. The metaphor Kaham uses is that you cannot build a skyscraper on sand. You must clear the sand, the bad debt, before you try to build the heavy structure of wealth. If you try to use leverage good debt while you are still drowning in consumption debt, you aren't building freedom. You're building a house of cards.
That makes sense. It's about structural integrity. If you add weight to a weak foundation, the whole thing just collapses.
Exactly. And this isn't just about math, it's about mindset. This feels like it goes back to that identity shift we talked about at the very beginning of the series.
Right.
The shift from employee to asset owner.
Right, because an asset owner isn't just someone who has assets, it's someone who thinks a certain way.
It is entirely about the mechanics of your thinking. An employee mindset relies on the next paycheck to cover payments.
Yeah.
When they look at a purchase, say a new car, they ask one question. Can I afford the monthly payment?
And if the bank says yes, they buy it.
They buy it. They even accept overdrafts as a kind of safety net.
They're managing cash flow just to stay afloat, whereas an asset owner...
An asset owner refuses to mortgage their future freedom for past impulses.
Yeah.
They don't ask, can I make the payment? They ask, does this purchase generate income or does it drain my system? The act of eliminating debt in step 8 is not just a mathematical exercise.
Yeah.
It is a declaration of ownership over your own time. You are reclaiming your future labor.
I love that framing. It's not just paying a bill, it's buying back your freedom.
Yeah.
So let's get tactical. We have the identity, we have the emergency fund, now we are in active combat. How do we actually attack this?
The first step is the hardest, and it's almost entirely psychological. It's the inventory. You have to list every single debt. No denial. No hiding that store credit card you forgot about. You need to see the full enemy.
Brutal honesty. Why is this so hard for people?
Shame. I think it's shame. We hide debt because we feel we messed up. But you cannot fight an enemy you refuse to look at. Once you have the list, there are 2 proven methods to attack it. The snowball method and the avalanche method.
Let's break those down because there's always a debate between the math nerds and the psychologists on this one. The snowball is the popular one.
Yes. In the snowball method, you list your debts from smallest balance to largest balance. You completely ignore the interest rate.
Ignore it.
Completely. You pay minimums on everything, and you attack the smallest one with every extra dollar you have.
So even if I have a huge loan at 20% interest, I should pay off the $500 medical bill at 0% interest first. That doesn't make mathematical sense.
Mathematically, you're right. It's inefficient. Psychologically, though, it's powerful. You get a quick win. You knock out a debt in maybe 2 weeks. You see a line item disappear from your spreadsheet. You feel that victory.
And that builds momentum, the snowball effect.
Exactly. It keeps you in the game.
Okay, so that's the emotional play. What about the avalanche?
The avalanche method is the cold, hard, logical approach. You list debts by interest rate, highest to lowest. You attack the one with the highest rate first, usually the credit cards. Mathematically, this saves you the most money over time because you destroy the most expensive debt first.
So which one does the Golden Path recommend? I mean, if this is a systems engineering approach, surely it recommends the mathematical one.
You'd think so. But surprisingly, the expert insight here is nuance. The best method is the one you actually stick to. If you are someone who needs that motivation, gets discouraged easily, do the snowball. If you are a spreadsheet warrior driven by pure efficiency, do the avalanche. The fight matters more than the math. The key is execution.
I like that flexibility. It recognizes that personal finance is personal. It's not just about the numbers.
It's about behavior. And the execution relies on the steps we already did. We aren't just, finding money under the couch cushions.
Right, we're leveraging the previous work.
Exactly. You use the conscious budget from step 4 and the stabilized cash flow from step 5 to find the ammunition. You find any extra money. You strip the budget down. You pay minimums on everything else. And you throw everything extra at that one target debt until it is gone. Then you move to the next. It's laser focus.
Now, I want to address some pushback I can imagine listeners having, because when you talk about stripping the budget down and focusing solely on debt, people get restless. And there are two big misconceptions that keep people stuck.
The biggest one is usually about investing. People ask, shouldn't I be investing while I pay off debt? I want my money to grow. I don't want to miss the market.
It's total FOMO. You see the stock market going up, headlines about crypto or tech stocks, and you feel like you're just standing still paying off a Visa card.
But look at the math. This is so critical. If you have credit card debt at 18% or 20% interest, and the stock market makes, say, an optimistic 8% or 10% on average, you are losing money every single day.
You're borrowing at 20 to earn 8. That's a losing trade every time.
It's a net loss of wealth. But conversely, paying off an 18% debt is the mathematical equivalent of a guaranteed, risk-free 18% return on your money.
Wow.
There is no investment in the world, not stocks, not real estate, not crypto, that consistently guarantees an 18% return with zero risk.
That is a fantastic way to frame it. Paying off debt is the investment. It's the best investment available to you right now.
It absolutely is. And until that high-interest debt is gone, you are just swimming upstream.
What about the second pushback, the lifestyle argument? I can't pay off debt aggressively because I need to maintain my standard of living. I can't live on rice and beans.
That is the hard truth of step 8, the lifestyle they're trying to maintain. That is what the debt is.
Right.
The bad debt is the lifestyle they already consumed. They already took the vacation, they already wore the clothes, they already drove the car, now they're paying for it. You cannot continue living the lifestyle that caused the problem while trying to solve the problem.
That's a tough pill to swallow. It's looking in the mirror and saying, I already spent this money.
It is. But you have to accept a period of contraction to build a lifetime of expansion. It's about accepting that the party is over so you can build something real. You have to decide if you want to look rich or be rich. You usually can't do both at this stage.
It reminds me of what we discussed regarding the asset owner identity. The employee tries to look the part. The owner actually owns the part.
Correct. And the owner knows that temporary sacrifice leads to permanent freedom.
Okay, we are getting towards the end of this step, but before we wrap up, we really need to pause for something important regarding how people should apply this.
Yes. At this point, it's important to pause and clarify something essential. This episode and this entire series is not financial advice. It presents a structured thinking framework only. There are no guarantees. Responsibility for decisions remains entirely with the listener. The fact that this strategy worked for its creator, Tamir Kaham, does not mean it will automatically work for you. Your circumstances, goals, personality, risk tolerance, and market conditions are different. You are responsible for evaluating and deciding what applies to your life. You must consult qualified professionals, accountants, advisors, lawyers, before making significant financial, investment, legal, or tax decisions.
Thank you. It is vital to keep that in perspective. This is a map, but you are the one driving the car. So let's synthesize where we are. We have established our emergency fund, and now, with step 8, we are cutting the drag.
We are shedding the weight, preventing the rocket from reaching orbit. We are shifting from servant mode, working to pay what is owed, to owner mode, working to build what is owned.
And once that weight is gone, the system can really start to fly. Because right now, even if you are saving, that debt is like trying to run a marathon with a backpack full of rocks.
Exactly. You drop the rocks, and suddenly running feels easy. You've started attacking your debt, breaking the invisible handcuffs. In episode 8, we move to step 9, financial automation. We'll cover how to build systems that run your finances on autopilot, removing willpower from the equation and ensuring consistency even when life gets chaotic.
That is when things get really efficient. We're taking the discipline we are building now and turning it into a machine. I love the idea of removing willpower,
Mm-hmm.
because willpower runs out.
It does.
Yeah.
Systems don't.
No.
If you want to follow the full map, subscribe for the series. And for the visuals, because seeing these debt reduction charts and the snowball versus avalanche visualizations really helps. Join the YouTube channel, The Golden Path to Financial Independence.
You can find that at youtube.com/@sign, capital TAMIR, capital GOLD, capital PATH. That's at Tamir Goldpath.
Or simply search YouTube for The Golden Path to Financial Independence.
Before you go, here is a thought to carry with you. We talked about debt as a financial issue, but think about it as a time issue. If you have 5 years of payments left on a car or a loan, that is 5 years where your future self is enslaved to your past self. What could you do with 5 years of absolute freedom? That is what we are buying back. See you in episode 8, where we put the system on autopilot.